All about Lightroom filters. This is Lightroom for completely beginners, a series of classes where you will learn how to professionally edit your photos in Lightroom 2024 to start making money with portraits or charge more for your services. If you don't know me yet, I am Silvia, specialist in the magazine style of maternity photography. My goal is to help you improve your retouching skills for you to make more money with photos. Now let's get into the video. In the previous videos, we were working with the basic correction in this photo right here and with the basic color correction as well. However, we did a general correction of the photo. In this video, we are going to learn something a little bit more advanced, I would say. We are going to continue with the basic correction, but instead of doing something that's general, we are going to be more punctual in where we wanted to correct and do some adjustments. There are two ways for us to do that. One is by using the Lightroom filters, which we'll see and learn today. And another way is by using masks, which we will see in another video. Both ways are really good and you can always combine both techniques. Another thing about filter is you don't only need to use for basic correction. When you're done with the part and you're actually now just manipulating the photo, being more creative with the photo and doing more of your style of photo, filters are really good for you to give some more effect in the photo. So now let's learn everything about this filter that we have here in Lightroom. So let's go to our develop tab. And we are gonna click right here where we have the masking. And the filters that I'm talking about that we are gonna be using right now in Lightroom is going to be the linear gradient and the radial gradient. They have something to do with masking as well, because what masking is pretty much for you to add some adjustment in the photo, but hiding the places that you don't want the effect to be applied and just applying to the parts that you want the effect or the adjustment to be applied. So the radial gradient and the linear gradient, they will do the same thing, but it's a little bit different from what we are gonna see in the next video that it's about masking. So right now we have these two types here of masking that I wanna see with you guys in this video. This is the radial gradient. So the way that it works is just making a circle. And this circle, everything that it's inside of the circle right now, everything that is selected in green, you can make an adjustment and just be applied to this circle in here. And then we have the linear gradient. And the linear gradient, instead of being a circle, is like in a line. So it's more like the effects will be applied in one side 100% and then it will start fading away to 0%. And this is what we are going to see in this video and what we can do with this that's actually very helpful for us. So let me delete this. Okay, let's say that by looking at this photo, you can see that from the left to the right, the left is a little bit darker here. We can see by looking at the wall, and on our right, we can see that we have more light to the side. Let's say that I wanted to make something that it's almost the same lighting. So one thing that I could do is grab my linear gradient, for example, and I can create a masking saying that I want some more effect and adjustment to this side of the photo and start fading away to the other side. Because if this side, the left side of my photo is a little bit darker and I want it to be a little bit lighter, to be almost to the same lighting that I have here to the right, what I need to do is just to make this side, the left side, a little bit lighter and slowly start fading away the effect of making my photo lighter. So the way the linear gradient works is from the red dot to the left, it means that the effect will be applied 100%. From the red dot to the middle dot, it means that it's gonna go from 100% to 50%. From the middle to the right here, is when we start decreasing from 50% to 0%. And from this dot to the right, there is no effect. So for you to understand what I'm saying, let's just do some adjustment here. So we have the filter, and I'm just gonna go up with the exposure because I just want you to take a look of what is happening. So from the left to the red dot, we have 100% of the effect of the exposure. From the red dot to the middle dot here, this black square, we have 50%. So it's from 100 to 50%. So we can see that it slowly start decreasing the effect. And from the square to this white dot here, we have a decrease from 50% to 0%. We have the amount here. The amount would be kind of like the opacity of the effect. So if you drag this to the right, you're gonna make the effect stronger, so twice of what it was. And if you drag to the left, you start making a little bit less visible. So what is happening is pretty much the opacity of the effects that you want to apply to the photo. We can play with this. And now I think that 30 might be good. It's starting to be lighter in this side, and it's almost like getting to the same light to this side. Let me go up. If you can see, if I go a little bit more, you can see that the luminosity now from the left wall and the right wall is getting closer and closer. But one thing that's also happening is that my model here, she's getting too much light, and I don't want that. So one thing that we can do, we can make something that is shorter. For example, right here. One thing that will happen when you make something shorter is that you don't have that much space to do the transition. You are able to see a hard transition, and that might not be very nice. What you can do is go down with the opacity. Another thing that you can do is not even work with the amount, is actually just working with the exposure right here. So I can just go slowly up, for example, like that. It's not, if you can see, it's not affecting necessarily the face of my client. So let me go down with the exposure again and slightly go up. And just by doing that, now I have a lighter side here on the left that it's a little bit closer to the luminosity. That's a little bit closer to the luminosity that I have here on the right. Another thing that you can do with the linear gradient is that you can spin this line as well. So you can do upside down, diagonal, you can do in any direction that you want to. And this is something very cool. So for example, let's say that you think that, let me delete this one. Let's say that you think that here it is a little bit lighter than the rest of the photo because the light is coming from the strobe and it's actually hitting the floor. So let's say that you might just want to remove a little bit of this lighting because it is being distracting. What we can do is, let me delete this mask. So I'm gonna create another linear gradient, and I'm gonna just bring this up here like that. And I can actually just go down with the exposure a little bit. And now I've fixed a little bit of the lighting on the floor. And this is good because now the photo looks that it has a little bit more equal lighting, if that's what you're going for. And if we take a look at the before and after, this is the before and after. Look, and it's very easy to adjust. And also you can just be playing a little bit more with the adjustment to see if you like it or not. And right here at this panel, let me just show you. You have here the visibility of the mask, so of what we just done. Press here, you stop visualizing the mask. And if you let it go, you can see the effect that is being applied to your photo. And the cool thing about the linear gradient is that you can adjust all of this: exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, whites, blacks. You can adjust temperature, so if you want to do something warmer right here, you can do it. You can adjust pretty much anything. Saturation, I want to have it a little bit less saturated. You can change the hue, so pretty much the color here. And you can also do and play with curves. So this is something that I wouldn't do right now because again, we are not in the part that we are manipulating the photo. We are just doing basic corrections. You can do a lot of things and be more punctual in where you want to do those changes. So the gradients, they are pretty cool. And with the radial gradient, you will do the same thing. Everything that you can do with the linear gradient, you can do with the radial gradient. So let's see what we can do here in the photo that we could use both linear gradient and radial gradient so you have an idea of how to use those tools. We can see here that on our left side is a little bit darker. We can see that this part here, it is a little bit lighter. So what we can do is to go to the linear gradient, create a gradient here, make this part a little bit lighter. You don't need to actually always work with the exposure. You can work with the highlights as well. Maybe you just want to bring up some of the highlights, or you can make the shadows darker, or you just want to bring the shadows up. Just know that you can do anything and everything that you want. So let me just adjust this. And I think I'm going to bring up the shadows. Okay, so I did the maximum of the shadow. I still think that it's a little bit dark. So I'm gonna bring up the exposure just a little bit. This is good. And the thing is, it is affecting my model right there a little bit. So let me try to adjust this just a little bit better. Let me see right now. Okay, I think that this is pretty good. I think I'm just gonna bring down a little bit of the shadows because the stool here is getting a lot of light. And I can always go down a little bit with the highlights as well. Yeah, I think that that's great. So we are gonna create another linear gradient. So let's go here to create new mask, and you're gonna choose linear gradient. And now we are gonna make this part darker. So I think that it's good. I can try to see if the highlight only will help because I don't wanna go too much on her body. So I think that just by bringing down a little bit of the highlight is good. Okay, so here's our before and after, before and after. And another thing that I can do, for example, I can see that, let me zoom in a little bit. I can see that the effect is going a little bit here on her face. Not too much, but just a little bit, especially here on the hair. So one thing that I can do is I'm gonna create another mask, and now I'm gonna create a radiant gradient. And I can make this, I think that her hand has a lot of light. So I'm gonna create something that it's for her hand. One thing about the radial gradient, let me just zoom out now. One thing about the radial gradient, I'm gonna make this bigger. And we have this feather here in with the radial gradient, and what it's going to do is to make this both circles, the outside and the inside, to be closer or further away, so you can have different fading transitions between the effects. So for example, if I go up with the my feather, you can see that the effect start fading a little bit better. You can see that when I have a bigger feather, a bigger number here with the feather, my inside circle now it's closer to that black point. So it means that my transition now got a little bit bigger. I have more space to do the transition. So I'm not gonna have that harsh light difference in the transition of my photo. So if I go all the way up to 100, you're gonna see that the middle circle now it's exactly my black point. So what I have now is the adjustment going from 100% to 0%. And when I go back here and I look at the circles, what we have here is from this middle black point to the inside circle, the effect goes from 100% to 50%, and from the inside circle to the outside circle, it goes from 50% to 0%. And everything that's outside this bigger circle is 0% of the effect. So when you change the feather here, you're changing the distance between the inside circle and the outside circle. And you can see that it's going to fade better or not. When you have zero feather, it means that that inside circle and the outside circle is just one big circle. So there is no transition, there is no feather, there is no fading from the transition. If I go up with my exposure, I'm gonna see a harsh transition, right? From 100% to 0%. If I go now, let me actually have the exposure up. If I go all the way to the other side, that inside circle is now my black point here. I do like to work with feathers because I don't like harsh transitions like this. Normally, I would leave in 100%, but I just want to show you that that's something that you can do with radial gradient. And another thing that you can do is that you can invert the selection. So let's say that you want to change something that's not inside of the circle. What you want to do is actually change the outside of the circle. So you can just press the option invert, and now everything that's outside of the circle is being adjusted. That means that the effect is being applied to the outside. Okay, so now that we saw this about the radial gradient, let me go back to the regular selection here. I don't want to invert this. I'm gonna go up all the way with the feather because I like the transition. And just one more thing that you can do, if you're using like an oval shape, you can also spin the radial gradient to make it better for whatever it is that you're trying to select. So I'm just gonna adjust this for what we want, and what we wanted is to make the hand, let me remove this selection, is to make the hand a little bit darker. So I'm gonna go and select just kind of the hand. Oh, and the hair had a little bit of the luminosity from the linear gradient. Okay, I'm gonna stop visualizing the mask, and let's just see again what the linear gradient is doing to our photo hair. So I can see that I'm getting some luminosity on her hair and a little bit on her hand from the other masks that we create from the linear gradient. So what I'm going to do is just to remove a little bit of this luminosity here. And also, even before the linear gradient, I think that her hand is closer to the light, so it's a little bit lighter than her face, and I want to reduce more of the light that it's on her hand. So what I'm going to do now is just go down with the highlights, see if that works, and I think that that's perfect. I don't think that I need to do anything anymore. Because if I go down with the exposure, look how it is getting weird. So I think that the highlight already resolved my problem. So let's see the before and after here. Before and after, before and after. And I think that this is perfect. If you wanted to adjust more, you can always adjust to not get too much on her face. But I think that the way that it is right now is perfect. So this is how you can actually play with radial gradient and with the linear gradient. There are filters in Lightroom. Another thing that sometimes might happen as well is her face or your model's face, your client's face can be a little bit dark in the photo. So what you can do is do all the corrections in the whole photo, and then you can come here create a new mask. So let's create a new mask, create the radial gradient, and you can make a circle just kind of a little bit more towards her face, and you can just make this a little bit lighter if you want to bring more light to her face. So here's the before and here's the after. Let me get closer to her face. Okay. Before and after, before and after. Oh, for example, in this case here, I think that the lighting is good, so I don't need to do much. But let's say that on her left side of her face is a little bit darker, and I wanted to make a little bit a better balance with the luminosity. So I can create the mask. So let me just delete this mask here. I'm gonna go create a new radial gradient, and I can do something just to this side of her face. And I can go up with the exposure a little bit. And look at this, before and after, before and after. I'm gonna get even closer to her face. I think it was too much, it's 200. And you're going to see that now it is more equal, it's more balanced, the luminosity of her face. And this is something very simple and easy to do with the radial gradient. Sometimes you might just want to do that on her eye. Maybe her eye got that black circle under her eye, the raccoon look eye. So you can just get a radial gradient and just actually do it on her eye. So you can do more punctual adjustments in the photo. And you can go with the shadows a little bit more up. I feel like it's lighter than the other one. And here's the before, here's the after, before and after. You can do so much with just these both tools here, the radial gradient and the linear gradient. For me, I don't want to make the eye or her left side of her face lighter, because the luminosity is coming from her right, so this side here from the left, and it makes sense for her to have a shadow on her face. So that's why I don't want to make it lighter, but maybe something that you want to do in your photo depending of the lighting that you are using. So let me see in a bigger picture with you guys. And here's the before and here's the after. Before and after. Now the lighting is looking better. I can even adjust this a little bit more because I think that's getting too much on her face. Let's see, before and after, before and after. Now you know all about Lightroom filters, how to make punctual adjustments to your photo. Click the like button if the video was helpful for you. Stay tuned for the next lessons of this course, because by the end of it, you will have photos that stand out more. And that's good if you're trying to attract more clients and make more money. Also, subscribe to my channel if you're not yet subscribed. New videos come out every week. For now, this is everything. I will see you in the next time.